welcome to the Royals Rundown podcast presented by Royals Review. I am Royals Review. By God, it's Jeremy Greco. Jeremy, how are we doing today, man? What's up?
I'm actually awake today, so I've got that going for me.
Yeah, that's always a good thing. I'm Jacob Milham, by the way, and we are brought to you by RoyalsReview.com. All the best recaps, threads, just postseason analysis. You need it all immediately, and you can find it over at RoyalsReview.com.
20 minutes after they announced their postseason rotation, I had an article up about it for everybody over there, and I am not the only one who's ready to jump all over that stuff.
Exactly. So that's very valuable. If you want to stay on top of things, you can do so at RoyalsReview.com. Also follow them on Facebook and Twitter at Royals Review. I almost said X, Jeremy, because I'm looking at the logo. They're not going to get me. The Supreme Court called them Twitter. They are Twitter. All right. So regular season is done and gone. I am so used to Game 162 being the sign-off from the radio crew, from the broadcast, saying, oh, well, these are the bright spots of the season, and maybe we'll get them next year. But by God, we have more baseball to play. The Royals are traveling to Camden Yards to face off against the 4 seed, the Baltimore Orioles. And Jeremy, take a bow, sir. Tell folks why we should be applauding you right now.
I have been saying for 2 or 3 weeks that the most likely outcome for the Royals was the second wild card. I hoped they could get the first wild card. I hoped they could win the division. Neither of those things came to pass. I said it would be kind of a surprise if they fell to the third wild card, and I would be absolutely stunned if they missed the playoffs entirely. And then the Royals went through a 7-game losing streak, and everyone said, oh, you think you're so smart, you're such a jinx. There were people calling for me to be fired. The Royals are the second wild card.
Yep.
That's what I said. I said that was the thing that was going to happen, most likely. Now, if they'd finished in the third wild card, I think I would still take credit for saying that I said that was a possibility. It would surprise me, but it was a possibility. But no, they ended up with the second wild card. The Tigers lost 2 out of 3 to the White Sox. They suddenly don't look so scary anymore to me, honestly.
No, they don't look quite as scary, with a little bit of a slump since the start of August. But we're going to talk all about that. There are some key things I want to touch on. We are recording this at 5 p.m. Eastern Monday evening. So what do we know? What don't we know? Let's start on focusing on what we don't know. We don't know the final postseason roster. That is a major thing that we need to talk about right now, because the will they, won't they of having Vinny Pasquantino on that 26-man roster is going to be massive. And I can't believe we're talking about it, but we are.
I think I tweeted. So during the post-game celebration, they interviewed Vinny Pasquantino. Joel Goldberg did.
Yes.
And Vinny's like, Sam Mellinger's right there. I can't say too much, but I'm doing my best. I'm working hard. Things are going good. And then later he tweeted out like a suspicious kind of emoji. Like, I got a secret kind of emoji, and he said Sam approved it. I think he deleted it later, so maybe Sam unapproved it. But then before the game yesterday, Matt Quatrero gave an interview that said, hey, if Vinny goes through the next 2 days goes through today, Sunday, and Monday today, with both todays, his today and our today, and does his live BP, and he still feels good Tuesday morning, there's a chance he could be on that roster. And the way he said there's a chance, I was like, he's going to be on that roster unless there's a setback that they do not expect there to be right now. So what's really funny about this to me is that I give the Royals training staff a lot of guff, because guys get hurt and then they're like, oh, I've been hurt for months and I never got better, and then they kept making me play, or like what is going on with that kind of stuff. But at the same time, guys keep coming back from injuries much faster than we thought they would. Vinny Pasquantino was supposed to be, I believe they said 6 to 8 weeks initially, and it has been 4.
Yes. And by the time he comes back, like, we're we're still talking about 4, like the early parts of that 5th week. But Jeremy, there's a lot of smoke here. Okay, this isn't just a few wisps. Like I'm talking, we see this on the horizon and it is billowing smoke. And I think MLB.com's Annie Rogers just poured a little bit more fuel onto that fire that we think is there, because in her postseason frequently asked questions, like if any fan needed to go find anything, you can find it there with Annie Rogers. But she does talk a lot about Pasquantino hitting on Monday in the batting cages and seeing how he feels on Tuesday. And I wasn't buying into it until she closed it out by saying, if we assume Pasquantino is back, here's what the lineup is going to look like. And she includes Vinny Pasquantino in the 3-hole. Okay, I think that's a pretty big deal, in my opinion. But man, does it make this damn lineup look so much better again. You go Pham,
everything.
It does. And especially, go ahead.
I know that's a wild thing to say about a 107 WRC plus hitter, but as I went on about when Vinny got hurt, he brings an ability to drive in runs that is not necessarily found in the rest of the lineup. He provided a lot of protection for Bobby Witt Jr. because of the fact that he doesn't strike out very much. I think pitchers, even with Salvi batting behind Bobby, were more willing to pitch around Bobby because, well, I can probably strike out Salvi. Like, it's a slot machine with Salvi. You strike him out or he hits a home run.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Salvi gives you a lot of good, but he gives you a lot of really bad too. Vinny, he doesn't strike out. He does hit into an occasional double play, but not as many as you would think for a left-handed first baseman. He slugger like he is. He gets good contact on the ball, and his ability to move guys over and to drive guys in is unmatched. We thought, maybe with the OBP that they were adding from Tommy Pham and from Robbie Grossman, or at least I thought that they could make up that difference, and then Bobby would just have to become the RBI guy, but they haven't provided the OBP we were looking for necessarily. And I think guys were really pressing towards the end of the year. And I think that in the same way that Vinny getting hurt seemed to suck the life out of the lineup, just having him back, even if he's not like Superman, even if he's just an average hitter, maybe even a slightly below average hitter, I think having him back can be a morale boost for the lineup to go, okay, Vinny's here. I don't have to do everything. And then maybe they can do more because they're not trying so hard.
Well, I think those ripple effects that you're talking about are the biggest thing, because now you look towards, okay, we have one of the hotter hitters since he joined the team, Yuli Gurriel. Now we have him down in the 6-hole, maybe. Now we have Hunter Renfroe in that 6 to 7 or 5 range, or however you want to put it.
I think what you're going to see is you're going to see Tommy Pham still leading off because he still provides you the best opportunity out of a leadoff hitter. I think Bobby, Vinny, Salvi, and then I think you're going to see Massey batting 5th. He's quietly been hitting very well, and then he gives you that lefty righty flip flop that you like to do, and then you can do Gurriel, and then maybe Melendez, Renfroe, Isbell.
Maybe so. I know Royals fans aren't going to love this, but in that article that I'm referencing from Rogers, her lineup goes sensibly: Pham, Witt, Pasquantino, Perez, Massey, and then it goes Gurriel, Renfroe, Adam Frazier at 3rd for some reason, and then Kyle Isbell in center.
I'm gonna say this, Jacob.
Oh boy. Oh, this is the hot take. I can feel it.
He might be the Royals' best option at 3rd base right now. Offensively. Paul DeYoung and Maikel Garcia are both much, much better defensively, and I would expect to see them as defensive replacements.
Yeah.
But neither one of them is hitting. Neither one of them is taking good at bats. The one thing Adam Frazier has done all year is at least he's avoided strikeouts. He doesn't make a lot of good contact, but he makes some contact. And when you're talking about the 7 or 8 spot in your lineup, somebody who can just put the bat on the ball means something.
That is true. But I will say, his recent performances don't give me a whole lot of hope. Okay, like his last 15 games, he's batting 161 and getting on base at a 257 clip.
What's Maikel Garcia and Paul DeJong doing?
They're not doing much better.
Yeah, I think they're worse. Maikel Garcia looks like he's completely lost at the plate right now. I think Maikel Garcia has the highest ceiling out of that group, but he is at rock bottom right now. He's lost. So I don't think you can start him. I mean, he dropped a pop-up, for goodness sakes. He dropped a pop-up, and he just, when I see him at the plate, he's watching that okay. He's not getting any help for the umpires who keep calling that fastball 6 inches off the outside corner a strike. But he watches a lot of strikes. He swings at a lot of balls. His swing looks timid. He doesn't look like he feels confident in what he's doing right now. He does not have any reason to start. Paul DeJong isn't doing much better. I don't know. Whoever they start at third out of the three of those guys, I think you're going to get reasonably the same level of performance. I think Frazier might be the better hitter right now.
Okay.
And then if he gets on, fifth inning or later, you pinch run for him with Garcia. Or if they bring in a lefty, you pinch hit for him with DeJong. And this is not a situation where he's playing all 9 innings. I don't think that's reasonable. And I don't think that's what'll happen. That's not been Q's thing.
No,
this year.
It hasn't.
I think he will start and he will get pulled. And I think that'll work.
Okay.
Well, I don't think that he will start, but I think that if he does start, he will get pulled early and it will be fine.
It's going to be a quick hook for whoever is over there at the hot corner. And to your credit, you are right. Frazier, out of those 3, is the marginally better option, believe it or not, statistically. Okay, I'm not advocating for his long-term ceiling in Kansas City or nothing like that. But
no, if they bring him back next year, don't do that. You need to find an answer at third base. Adam Frazier is not the answer, but he's not the hero we deserve, but he's the hero we've got right now.
Yes, we deserve much, much better. We deserve more players like MLB batting champion Bobby Witt Jr., who we haven't even talked about that. I mean, what hasn't the man done? What he did do is he led the league in batting average with a 332 batting average, led the league in hits with 211 on the season, 374 total bases this year.
Set the Royals record for extra base hits in a year, didn't he?
I believe so. Yes, I believe so.
Where was he in MLB and runs scored? He was up there. He was leading for a long time. I don't know. They stopped scoring runs. We probably fell down a little bit, but
yes, I think he did fall down quite a bit, but ultimately he is still one of the elite offensive, not just offensive players at the plate, but just I would call him an offensive weapon. Okay, that's what you say in football for a guy who could do anything. That's kind of what Bobby Witt Jr. is when it comes to batting. So, as Bobby goes, the Royals lineup goes, but also how it's kind of been this year is how Cole Reagans goes. The Royals pitching is gone. And I think that's going to be the matchup that we need to be watching very, very closely against these Baltimore Orioles, because don't get me wrong, Cole Reagans has been amazing this year. Okay, I think he set career highs with 32 starts, 186 and a third innings, both career highs. The most strikeouts since Zach Greinke with 223
most by a lefty ever.
Yes, most by a lefty in franchise history as well. But he has notably struggled against the Baltimore Orioles this year. He's made 2 starts against them, allowing 7 runs across 8 innings in those starts with 11 strikeouts to 2 walks. Jeremy, I don't know how much you're worried about it. I'm not raising the alarm about it, but I think it's a little foolhardy to bet the mortgage on a shutout performance from Cole Reagans.
I think in the modern MLB, it is always foolhardy to bet on a shutout. Pitching is king, and it's especially the king in the playoffs. But if you expect a guy to shut people out, you're going to be disappointed more often than not. But if he holds them to 1 or 2 runs, even 3 runs, the Orioles have a tremendous lineup. They were just playing in Atlanta, and Atlanta thinks they're a playoff team, and maybe they are. Depends on if they win this second game of the doubleheader that they're in right now as we're recording this. But they had one hitter that made me even a little bit afraid in general, and that was, of course, Marcell Ozuna. The rest of them were just like, okay, he's fine. The Orioles do not have a place to escape. Even when they played the Yankees, they had Soto and then Judge and then Austin Wells, sort of, and then everyone else was like, well, they're good, but they don't terrify me. Everyone in the Orioles lineup terrifies me. Every single person. It's insane. So it's gonna be a real interesting battle. Now the flip side of that is their pitching is not as good as the Royals. Corbin Burns is probably the equal of Cole Reagans, but the next 2 guys are not as good as Lugo and Waka. Their bullpen has not been as good over the season as the Royals, and if you just take in September into account, when the Royals bullpen has been fantastic, and then you slide into postseason mode where you really focus in on just using your best guys, the Royals bullpen is better. So it's going to be a really interesting matchup of a team that can play defense and can pitch against a team that can hit the daylights out of the ball.
Yes, that is they really, really can, especially there in Camden Yards with that short tinned porch, I would say, in left field.
Yeah, it's not as short as it used to be.
It's not. But that is still it's made a difference in games. You brought up that bullpen, and I do want to list off the names that Rogers listed in her article for answering the question, how will the bullpens line up after the starter? So she listed out Lucas Urseg, Chris Bubich, Sam Long, and Angel Zerpa. After those 4, it got a little dicey in the consensus, I think. But now you have starters that are moving to there. Michael Lorenzen and Brady Singer moving to the bullpen. That has been well documented and talked about. Then also you have John Schreiber listed by her and Daniel Lynch the 4th. Are you surprised by any of the omissions? The notable omission that I'm seeing is Carlos Hernandez. Alec Marsh is also omitted there. I'm not surprised by that after, number one, them pitching on Sunday, and especially when Carlos Hernandez went multiple innings on Sunday. But I still think that they're just not going to announce their final postseason roster until they know for sure what is going on with Vinny.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's only reasonable because whether he's available changes a lot of factors. Yes. I think you're right. It doesn't really make a ton of sense to keep Marsh at least on the wild card roster since he did pitch 5 innings on Sunday. I don't know if he's going to be available. He might be available for the last game.
Maybe.
But that you've got so many other relievers that I don't know. You could use that bench spot for another position player, because we know, as I said, Q likes to mix and match his lineup. He likes to do a lot of substitutions. And in a short 3-game series, you don't need all those pitchers necessarily. So I'm going to actually backtrack from my prediction a couple of weeks ago and say, yeah, they're probably going to shorten their bullpen a little bit to maybe 11 guys. So Marsh and Hernandez, I think Hernandez has been the weakest of the traditional relievers that currently on the roster. He's been fine. Yeah. He's been fine, but you're not going to pitch him. You're going to go to everybody else before him. If you have to use him in the playoffs, you've already lost. So that's or you've already won by a lot. Mm-hmm. So it's fine to leave him out, I think. And so, yeah, I think that actually makes a lot of sense to omit those 2 guys and go with everyone else in there. And of course, Brady Singer, if they go on to the division series, Brady Singer probably becomes the 4th starter. And then you probably bring Marsh back in because you do have more games to cover. So you want that extra pitcher, and then someone on the bench has to go. But maybe by then someone will have established, I'm hot now. You don't got to have your substitution for me.
Mm-hmm. Correct. And that's being hot right now is kind of really what matters. I would say it is tough to go back and put immense stock into, oh, this is what they did over the entire season. Like, well, sorry, everyone's 0-0 right now. Okay, anything can happen. You go back to last World Series that featured 2 wild card teams in the Diamondbacks and the Rangers. Okay, they weren't expected to be there. They benefited from the expanded playoffs, but they got hot when they needed to, and they got the job done. There is one, or not one, but a collective of statistics over the entire season that I want to talk about. You spoke earlier about pitching being king, which it is. And the Royals this year, their starting pitching ERA ranked second in Major League Baseball.
The Phillies?
I think so. Yes. Yep. They ranked second with a 3.55 ERA.
That's
now
so
behind
good. Oh,
it is
an entire starting staff. That's so good.
It is elite. And it also was benefited because the Royals behind them, the defense, they led the majors with 36 outs above average, which is crazy. Like that stat's been tracked since 2016. I know it's still a little new to some folks, but that is very valuable. And lastly, the other stat I want to talk about is that the average with runners in scoring position. Okay, they slumped as the season went down, as the season ended. So they slumped really hard, but it's still crazy to think that they ranked second despite that slump with a 282 batting average with runners in scoring position.
It's honestly what's crazy to me is how far ahead of everyone they were before the slump.
Yep. They had just a massive lead over second place. And I bring up those three because those three have been combined or a shared trait in a few teams. Okay. So I know, right? So I'm going to list them off. The 2018 Houston Astros, they ranked in the top 2 in all 3 of those metrics. The 2020 Dodgers ranked in the top 2 in all those metrics. And the 2022 Houston Astros ranked top 2 in all those metrics. So you're telling me that 2 of those teams won the World Series and then another lost in the ALCS. And the Royals share that feature? I don't know. I'm not saying they're going to win it all, but that is on their side.
There's a lot of people out there saying the Royals are going to get swept out of the playoffs, and I can't say that I'd be surprised if that happened, but I also don't think it's a foregone conclusion. I think people are underestimating what this team has been all year. Yes, they've been on a really bad cold spell for all of September, but that's over now. It's not September anymore. It's October now. Well, I mean, as we record this, it's September, but we're not playing in September anymore.
Yes.
So things change.
They do.
And they were really good in August, and then well, it's not August anymore, right? So
right.
That's how this goes. It works both ways, everyone, okay? They could be really good and then really bad, and then they could be really bad and then really good. Yes. We don't know. I can't say they're definitely going to get hot and they're going to go a long ways into the playoffs. I can't say that. But anyone who promises that they can't doesn't know any more than I do.
Exactly. And especially when the Royals have a franchise history of doing this. So many Royals fans out there would be shocked when you tell them, hey, this franchise has a winning record in playoff games. They're 40-34, the 4th best winning percentage all time. Okay. They're also 30-15 since 1985 in the postseason. That's the best. That's the best postseason record in all of baseball in that span. And you know what? When I was younger, I wasn't putting a whole lot of stock in why do we have George Brett up in the suites? Like, why do we have all these old heads around? Like, let's focus on the current Royals. Well, I'm sorry, we talk about culture and stuff like that. That's a lot of names and guys with experience in the postseason who can help guide this young roster when it matters most. I'm not saying the Royals are going to win it all, but damn, I'm hopeful. And we should all be, right, Jeremy? Like, until proven otherwise, this team is a contender.
You know, they have a better run differential than the Orioles, which is considered a much better predictor of success than just pure record. Again, short series, anything could happen.
Yep.
But there are plenty of reasons to think these Royals can hang with these teams. We also saw them when the Royals were still kind of figuring out who they were very early in the season, and the Orioles were red hot to start the year. We saw the Royals hang tough with them and take 2 out of the 6 games. Now, 2 out of 6 ain't going to cut it here, but 2 out of 3 would.
Yep. And now I want to shift away from the numbers still a little bit to some of the things that gave me hope this weekend. So I was in Fairfax for an event, and Fairfax, Virginia, for clarification. Number one, I couldn't tell you how many Detroit Tigers hats and jerseys and fans being proud about their team making the postseason for the first time since 2014. Saw a lot of that. And I hope Royals fans are the same, because frankly, I didn't see another Royals fan except for one person. He was wearing a Nori Aoki jersey.
Ooh.
I know, right? He had to dig that thing out of the closet, because number one, that is a deep cut in Royals history, much less just having a Royals shirt at all.
Man, I loved Aoki, though.
Yeah, I did too. I remember, like, before I really started like critically watching baseball, I was like, man, this guy can play. He is great. Why didn't we get him earlier and stuff like that? Now, believe it or not, he's still playing in Korea. I think
he said he was going to retire this year, but he's still playing.
Yeah,
professional baseball.
It is amazing. So I just hope that Royals, because Jeremy, you and I have heard a lot of the negative from these fans who have watched all 162 games. I just hope that this fan base feels proud, no matter how this postseason goes, about they made it to the postseason, a 30-game win improvement, one win shy of tying the record for the most wins after a 100-loss season. Those are things to be proud of. Those are things to be excited about. And damn it, I know I am, man.
Yeah, they did everything I asked them to do this year and more. They went out and got free agents to fill their holes. They didn't overspend. They didn't overspend trading at the deadline, but they did bring in help, especially Lucas Erceg, who will be here for years to come. And every day looks more like the next Wade Davis, which is just insane to think about if you realize just how crazy Wade Davis's stats were.
Yeah, that they were. And if you need to go remind yourself of that, just go watch some of the postseason ball from 2014 and 2015, because that's when that value really showed up.
My favorite thing was when I was looking at bullpen stats. I don't remember for which article. And I looked up Lucas Erceg since he joined the Royals. He has been worth more than one win as a relief pitcher since joining the Royals. He might be close to 2 wins now. I'd have to check on that. But Wade Davis's best season, because it's hard to get WAR as a reliever. Wade Davis's best season was 3. So Lucas Erceg was right there with him as far as like he was on that pace. While he was in a Royals uniform.
Right. That's crazy. That's insane.
He did not pitch as well with the Athletics, which is an interesting thing. That's the second guy we've seen now. It obviously doesn't work for everybody, but that's the second guy we've seen come from another team and just completely become so much better when he joins the Royals. Cole Reagans and now Lucas Erceg. Erceg had 1.4 WAR in 25 games for the Royals, which is about a third of the innings that Wade Davis pitched. He pitched 70 to 75 innings. and he had a 3.4 WAR season. So that's that, I mean, again, you can't expect him to keep that pace over a full season, but the numbers are there: the strikeouts, the walks, the no home runs.
Mm-hmm. So let's go ahead and get back to the black and white of the postseason, because folks do need to. Things are changing. Okay, you're not going to hear Rex and Ryan on the broadcast anymore. That's not who we got. I don't know who, without a doubt, who is going to be the broadcasters. Jeremy, maybe you could look that up, see if they've announced that. But I do know this: first pitch for Tuesday's game is set for 3:08 Kauffman Standard Time, 3:08 Central Time on Tuesday, and it's going to be televised on ESPN2. Okay, ESPN2. So don't go to the Bally app. It's still going to be on MLB.TV if that's what you use. Live games are also still available in select countries outside of the United States. You can go to MLB.com to figure that out. Like we alluded to earlier, it's Cole Reagans for the Royals on the mound, Corbin Burns on the mound for the Baltimore Orioles. I don't think it's going to be announced tonight. I think it is going to be announced early Tuesday who is on the postseason roster. But Jeremy, if you had to wager, would you bet on Vinny Pasquantino being on the roster or being off of it?
I think he's on.
You think he's on?
I think he's been telling us since Friday night he was going to be on that roster. And I think the fact that he was doing live BP Friday, what do you have to do after you do live BP? After you do at bats against major league relievers and Steven Cruz and Will Smith? They're not the best relievers necessarily, but they're major league pitchers.
Yeah,
and he was hitting off of them. So what's he got to do? He can't go to Omaha to rehab. They're done.
Yep.
That's all he's got. So he's done it. So get in the lineup, buddy.
I agree. If I had to, I can't believe I'm saying this. If you would have asked me this time a week ago, I wouldn't have thought it possible. But Vinny Pasquantino has turned it around, and I think he is going to be on that final postseason roster.
I have those announcers for you if you want.
Who are the announcers?
We got Sean McDonough, Jessica Mendoza, Ben McDonald, and Jeff Passan.
Okay, all right, Jeff. I like it. The old news buster for all baseball things. Jeremy, I'm going down a rabbit hole. Did you see the report that with Woj leaving ESPN, that they're looking at moving Passan to basketball?
Yeah, I saw that.
What do you think about? Like, I'm stunned, but like, what? I don't know why you would do that. And
basketball is more profitable for ESPN than baseball is, and Passan does basically the same thing on the baseball side. So it's kind of like promoting from within a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Except he doesn't have the contacts on the basketball side. But I imagine he could, talk to Woj and get him. Like, hey, hook me up with whoever you talk to. Let me develop my own relationships.
Yeah, and I guess like that's the logical thing, because at the end of the day, Woj, I'm using this as a turn of phrase. He doesn't physically have a Rolodex, but he does have the Rolodex of contacts and sources and things like that. He's got a cell phone
contact list, certainly.
Yes, exactly. So I just upload it to the cloud and let Passan download it. I guess
to the cloud. That's how everyone gets it.
I need him to put it on a Google Drive and just tweet out the link. Like, here you go, everyone. Here's who you bother.
Oh, no. And that would be, no one wants to talk to Wojnarowski, however you say his last name, all the way. No one wants to talk to him anymore.
Exactly.
Because he gave all their numbers away.
Yes. That. Of course, I was joking. Please don't do that. We don't dox people and put their personal information online, a la whoever the heck leaked Dan Campbell's home address that made him have to move, which is very unfortunate. But at the end of the day, I like that broadcast crew. I do. I think it's solid. I don't think it's amazing.
Jessica Mendoza is the only one that I recognize other than Passan, and I know a lot of people are like, woman announcing baseball, bad. but I thought she was really insightful. The handful of times I've listened to her, I don't. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe those were just really good games for her. I don't have that experience, but I'm excited about that. Sure.
I like McDonough. I've listened to him a couple of times and I've liked what I've heard.
It's not who's that guy that Bo threw out at home plate. What's his name?
Oh, who was it?
He's awful. He's a broadcaster. He's awful.
Yeah.
And it's not John Smoltz. So
yeah.
you're probably fine.
Thank goodness it's not Smoltz. I've listened to him a few times because, like I said, Honey is a Phillies fan, so he's shown up on broadcast where we've listened to that. I just can't stand him. I can't stand that man. But it should be interesting. One other national thing that we do need to talk about is baseball, much to the celebration of fans everywhere, announced 2 changes related to their uniforms over the course of the next 2 seasons. The first, players will return to wearing their primary home and road uniforms at the All-Star game starting next year. No more of these crazy designs. We're going to see a proper Kansas City Royals uniform on that field next year.
When Bobby plays in the home run derby, they are going to have special home run derby uniforms. I think that's okay.
Whatever, I'll take that.
If they gotta have a special uniform, the home run derby is the event to do it in.
Mm-hmm. Here's the big one though, and you brought this to my attention because I missed it first. I was excited enough about the All-Star uniforms. They kind of buried the lead on this one because I think they knew, like, hey, we messed up. So changes are in the works for overall home and road team uniforms beginning next season that will include pant customization, increasing the size of the lettering, and returning to previously used materials that the players requested. It seems a long time ago, but man, the uniforms were the headline of spring training. And I think we all noticed the issues. We just weren't making a stink because we knew baseball wasn't going to make major changes.
We got used to it, and it'll still be nice to go back, and it'll be easier to read guys' names again. Mm-hmm. And hopefully this means a return of things like the Negro Leagues uniforms and other special celebration uniforms.
Hopefully so. And now I do want to clarify, MLB did say the changes will begin in 2025 and will be fully implemented by the start of 2026. So take that.
Some guys are going to be wearing the 2024 uniforms, and some guys will be wearing.
I hope not. But
Bobby Witt Jr. gets the good uniform. Everybody else in the Royals has to wear the bad one still. Sorry.
Yeah. Oops. Sorry, guys. But listen, like after all the promising that they did following 2023, heading into this year, and they massively underdelivered. I think that they learned from that, and it's like, oh, well, if we have any issues, we could just say they're getting here in 2026. That's what I think. But overall, this is good news that hit the airwaves the day before postseason baseball, right, Jeremy?
Absolutely. I can't remember if we've talked about the other uniform thing that is happening actually during the World Series or during the playoffs, which is that German work uniform company that's going to be advertising on everybody's helmets for the entire postseason.
Yes.
I can't remember if we talked about it, but my real quick take, which is the fullest of my takes, is that we're going to hate it and then we'll get used to it and we won't even notice it.
I mean, that's what folks did with the QT patch.
Yep. Which is what I said what happened with the QT patch too. I don't know if you remember that.
I don't remember that because I forgot about it, moved on, and accepted it. Yeah. Just like everyone else. All right. Jeremy, I'm massively putting you on the spot here. I want us to predict who is going to be in the World Series.
In the World Series?
In the World Series.
Well, Jacob, at the beginning of the year, we were all tasked with predicting the Royals wins and losses for this season.
Yes.
And I said, it doesn't matter who's right or wrong. None of us know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm going to wishcast as I call it. I don't know if that's the official term.
Manifest?
I'm
going to manifest?
Yeah. I'm going to cast this desire into the universe and hope that it comes true. And I hoped that the Royals would win 84 games. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to say that it's Phillies Royals in the World Series.
Oh, why would you do that to my household, Jeremy?
Because I will personally enjoy that quite a bit.
Oh, so much pain. Oh my gosh.
Well, think about it this way, Jacob. Think about it this way. No matter who wins that World Series, one of you's happy.
That's true. And the other one is despondent. Okay. Like, that's how that goes.
How? You can't be. Okay, if the Royals lose the World Series, you can't be bummed about that after losing 100 games the year before.
I guess not.
With your wife being excited about winning, you can't hate that. Come on, man.
No, can't hate it one bit. You are absolutely right. Yeah, so honestly, you heard the dogs barking because Honey just walked in the door. And Honey, for your awareness, Jeremy is manifesting a Royals-Phillies World Series. And his reasoning is that one of us is going to be happy at least, right? So I would appreciate that, if not for my wife's sakes, then for mine. I'm also going to say the Royals in the World Series. That is what I want. And until it is impossible, it is possible. That is what I think. On the NL side, I do think it's a little bit more interesting. The Padres are probably the sexy wild card in the World Series.
You should pick Atlanta. We don't even know if Atlanta's going to be in. You should pick Atlanta.
I can't do it with a clear conscience, unfortunately, without Acuna.
All they had to do was beat the Royals yesterday.
That's all they had to do.
The Royals weren't really trying that hard.
Nope, still lost. It just goes to show you how baseball is. I do think this is the Dodgers' year to finally get to the World Series. I know they didn't win 100 games, but
they won a World Series recently, didn't they?
They did.
2020.
They did. Yes, 2020. The what folks put an asterisk next to, of course, thanks to the shortened season. But I mean, come on, you think you're scared of the Orioles lineup? I am terrified of that Dodgers lineup from
but they faced the Dodgers before. They were batting Kevin Biggio in there, and I was like, we can take them. Kevin Biggio ain't there no more.
Nope,
he's in Atlanta.
Oddly enough, they have successfully filled those holes. They have a first round bye, so we'll see who they face off against. But I think that they're going to be in the World Series. From there, who knows? But Jeremy, I'm also using this opportunity as an announcement. We will be doing the game by game recaps on.
We will be, or you will be.
At least me.
Okay,
Jeremy, I do have a feeling that, hey, if we start doing these, maybe some of the characters will be calling back in. I know, unfortunately, our good friend Paul had to move on. That was a seasonal job, so we had to let go of him. I wish him best in his future endeavors, but there are plenty of other folks around the Royals Rundown podcast.
Hopefully, we can hire him back next year.
Hopefully so. Hopefully this is a recurring thing for Paul Off Odds. If you're listening on Spotify, there's actually a way that you can make your voice known on the podcast. You can send us a voice message. You can just record it. It'll be like 1 to 4 minutes, something like that. If you send me a voice message, we'll put it in the podcast, no matter how good, bad, or ugly it is.
Careful, Jacob. Careful.
Hey, I told folks that if they left us a review, then we would talk about it.
What if it's just all expletives, Jacob?
If it is all expletives, it will be beep to beep beep. Beep beep. I will sound like R2D2 up here. I will beep bop 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 boop beep bop.
Leave one.
All right. Well, Honey says she's gonna leave one, so we'll see how that goes. But if you leave us a voice message or a review, I would greatly appreciate it. And I do at least have one review to read off.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know, right? Unfortunately, for some reason, I was using a service called Chartable. They are sunsetting Chartable, and so I don't have access to every single one of the reviews that are left on the podcast, but I do at least have this one from, let's see, Shindog81, titled Longtime Lurker. Dog says, I was 10 years old when the Royals went to the World Series in 1980. I was 15 years old when they first won it all in 85. Thus was formed a lifelong Kansas City Royals fan through some thick and lots of thin. I've read Royals Review for quite a while, and I've listened to Jeremy and Jacob's podcast as well. Just want to take the opportunity to give these guys a shout out. They're knowledgeable. They play off each other really well. And they truly come across as die-hard Royals fans like me. I look every day to see if they have a new podcast up, as I like to listen as I am on my nearly 90-minute daily commute to and from work. Bravo, guys. Keep up the great work. Hey, thanks, dog. We appreciate it, and I am not envious of that commute in the slightest.
Me neither. I will take those kind words all day, every day, though.
Yes, so we greatly appreciate it. If you want to leave us a review, if we missed your review for some odd reason, we genuinely do apologize. You can reach out to us on social media and let us know. Put us on blast, saying, "Hey, you missed my review. What the hell are you doing?" But Jeremy, I don't have anything else. Let's go ahead and get on to our Royals review. Sound good?
I feel like there was something else I wanted to mention, but I don't remember what it was. So yeah, let's go.
All right, sounds like a plan. I'll go ahead and start us off, which I will say, I haven't had a whole lot of opportunity to ingest since the last podcast episode. Haven't had a lot of opportunity to sit down and watch TV. But I am reading through a book. I saw the author's name. I was like, you know what? I'll give it a shot. I'm not a fan of his on-screen work all the time, but maybe his book is different. I'm reading a book called You Heard Me. I'll Say It If Nobody Else Will by Colin Cowherd. A very divisive TV personality. What are you laughing about, Jeremy?
Colin Cowherd. Just his existence is funny to me.
Not everyone's cup of tea, but I'm reading through this book. And you know what? The hot take Twitter guys are a little bit of a acquired taste. This book's title kind of said, this is a book full of hot takes. And I haven't seen that so far. I do think like there's some interesting insights here into just, this is what I have seen in my career in sports media. These are some lessons I have learned from that. Some of the references are a little dated to specific players and things like that. That happens. This came out in 2013. A lot has changed between now and then. Again, I like the tidbits. I like digestible pieces of this, talking about like, hey, is this player really an issue or not an issue, or does he just have good or bad PR? Is there really work-life balance in this field? Is talent overrated? Stuff like that. Whether or not, I'm not saying I agree with all of it, but I think he lays out his arguments fairly well. So I'd go check it out. I think it's at least worth a read. See if you like it. See if you don't. Make up your own mind. I don't care either way. So once again, that is You Heard Me. I'll Say It If No One Else Will by Colin Cowherd. Jeremy, on to you, good sir.
All right. So this is going to be kind of a weird review.
Oh,
for those
when
of you
have normal reviews.
Yeah, well.
Never.
For those of you who don't know or don't remember, I live in the Asheville area, and I am able to come to you and record this podcast today because I just so happened to be visiting my family in Atlanta to watch the Royals play and to celebrate my dad's birthday. So Hurricane Helene missed me. I originally thought I was driving into the teeth of Helene, and then I didn't think it would affect my Asheville home, but it did. And I was without power and water apparently for the entire weekend until today. And I've got a lot of friends up there, that some of them are still without water and power. One of them has both, but they're still under a water boil advisory.
Man.
And there are whole towns that have been wiped off the map. There are highways that have been destroyed. The devastation up there is unreal. But I do want to go ahead and shout out power linemen and the guys who go out there and they fix the power lines when your power goes down. Those guys are unreal. And not just the ones in Western North Carolina, okay, because they are coming from all over the country. I saw there were some coming from Canada, some coming, which is not even our country, some coming from Colorado. And this is what they do every time something like this happens. They will travel from everywhere to try and get in there and help get people's power restored so that they can go back to living their lives. And I just think that's so cool. And I'm sure they get paid crazy rates for it, but it's still probably not enough. And I wanted to throw out kind of a review, a thank you for all of them, for all the hard work they do. And for, making our lives better and not leaving people in the dark forever.
Amazing. Yeah, that's very, very true, Jeremy. Thank you for shouting them out. We do appreciate that. All right, y'all. That's going to go ahead and do it for the podcast here today. Jeremy had the great idea. We are going to hold the next full podcast until we know the result of the American League Wildcard Series between the Kansas City Royals and the Baltimore Orioles. That might be, hey, we have a new episode in your feed Friday morning. That might be Thursday morning. We'll see. Either way, we will be back later on this week for a full-length episode. And Jeremy and I already have a lot cooking for the off season, so we are very excited to, reveal what that is to you.
Don't worry,
but
it's been a slow cooker.
Oh, it's in a slow cooker, huh?
We don't want it to be ready too soon.
Well, it's in the crock pot for about a month.
Yeah,
that's the hope. All right. Well, hey, I'm here for it. But if you need more of your Royals fix every single day, you can go get that on RoyalsReview.com for the best game threads, game recaps, analysis, commentary, so much more over at RoyalsReview.com. A great team over there, so go support them and check them out. I am Jacob Milham. He is Jeremy Greco. Thank you so much for joining us today, and until next time, go Royals!